Okay, it's good to see everybody today. Happy Hanukkah, and see that Jules and I have the Hanukkah theme for our backgrounds, and so I don't have the green screen behind me because I'm actually in my office at Shul, so that's why my head looks a little blurry like that with the background. So this coming Shabbat is the Torah portion Miketz, but it's one of the unusual times in which we take 3 Torah scrolls out of the Ark. There are times it's very common to take 2 Torah scrolls out of the Ark when Shabbat coincides with Rosh Chodesh, for example, the new moon, and we read the selection from the book of Numbers that describes the special offerings brought on the new moon. And on holidays, of course, we take out 2 Torah scrolls, one for the holiday reading and one for the section from Numbers with the holiday offering. So we're familiar with 2 Torah scrolls, but 3 is a rare occurrence. So we have 1 Torah scroll for the portion Miketz. We have one, because this Shabbat is Hanukkah, it's also Rosh Chodesh this Shabbat. So the second Torah scroll will be the reading about Rosh Chodesh, and the third Torah scroll will be the reading for that day of Hanukkah from the chapter 7 of the book of Numbers, which has each of the 12 tribes bringing gifts to the dedication of the tabernacle. So since Hanukkah is about the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem, we read from the book of Numbers the original dedication of the original sanctuary. So we'll read what for the appropriate day of Hanukkah, the 6th day of Hanukkah, the 6th day of the 12 days of dedication of the Mishkan. So 3 Torah scrolls, which will mean we have to be creative as to where to put the 3rd Torah scroll, because we only have 2 Torah stands on the bima, but we will figure that out. We also had an incident with a mistake in a Torah scroll last Shabbat during the service, so we had to replace the Torah in the middle of the Torah reading. Anyway, that's just our Sharei Tefillah logistics with 3 Torah scrolls this Shabbat. So the other Torah readings are so short, just a few verses, they're not worth looking at. So I do want to look at the main Torah reading, which is the portion Miketz, which is often the Torah reading for Shabbat of Hanukkah. It just works out. Sometimes it was last week's portion, Vayeshev, but most of the time Miketz is the portion for that coincides with Hanukkah. So we're on 250 in Eitz Chaim, or whatever edition of Chumash you're using. Just look for the table of contents, the portion Miketz, or chapter 41 of Genesis. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, who has commanded us to study words of Torah. So I wanted to begin this week. We don't have anything R-rated in this morning's Torah portion, as we did last week and the week before. So I want to start at the beginning and talk about and discuss the dream, Pharaoh's dream here. So we'll start at the very beginning of the portion again, chapter 41, verse 1, page 250 in Eitz Chaim. And the thing about these portions from chapter 37 until the end of Genesis is that the rabbis very innovatively decided to break the Torah portions at key key moments in the plot. So we left off last week with Joseph having interpreted the dreams of the butler and cupbearer, Pharaoh's butler and cupbearer, who were in prison with Joseph. And those dreams came true, that the one, that's not the butler, the baker. The baker's dream was fulfilled after 3 days. The baker was executed, and the cupbearer was restored to his position. And Joseph had asked the cupbearer, when you are restored, don't forget me and try to get me out of prison. But the cupbearer forgot Joseph. Okay, so that's how we left off last week. So now, Vayehi Miketz Shnatayim Yamim Ufaro Cholem V'hine Omed al Hayor. So, and it came to pass at the end of 2 years worth of days. That's the literal translation of the Hebrew, but after 2 years. So Joseph is languishing in jail for 2 years after having interpreted the dreams of the baker and the cupbearer. And Pharaoh was dreaming, and in his dream, he was standing on the Nile. So the Nile River is called Yeor in the Torah. So this is his dream. He's standing on the Nile. So now there's an interesting comment below the line. Standing by the Nile is how it's translated here, but al means on, but it could also mean near or next to. So he's standing next to the Nile. So if you look below the line here in the Eitz Chaim, the literal meaning is over the Nile, right? So al can mean on top of. So standing on top of the Nile or over the Nile, okay? This prompted the rabbinic comment that Jews see themselves as subservient to God and dependent on God, whereas idolaters see themselves as superior to their gods, right? So in Egypt, the Nile was one of the gods, and Pharaoh was a god himself. So here, Pharaoh, as a god, is standing over the god, the Nile. Judaism teaches us how to serve God. Pagan religions teach their fellow followers how to use and manipulate their gods. Okay, so from the Midrash, then a sense of here where it's just normal usage of Hebrew, the rabbis are taking it and teaching us a lesson about pagan ideology, and Pharaoh as a god placing himself over the Egyptian god of the Nile. Okay, verse 2. Vehine min hayaor olot sheva parot yefot mar'eh uvriot basar vatir'ena ba'achu. So here, out of the Nile arose 7 cows. Yefot mar'eh, nice looking cows. Uvriot basar, healthy of flesh. So these are healthy, good looking cows. In other words, picture an auction in the Midwest for cows. These would be top of the line cows, fetching top price. Vatir'ena ba'achu, they were grazing in the reed grass. Okay, so there's no translation, there's no commentary on that. Just clear that achu is the reed grass. They are grazing in the reed grass. Nice looking cows. Okay. Verse 3. V'hine sheva parot acherot olot acharehen min hayaor. And now 7 other cows arose behind them from the Nile. Ra'ot mar'eh, ugly looking or bad looking. Vidakot basar, and skimpy, skinny looking of flesh. Right there, they look like they're starving. Vata'amodna, and they were standing, Eitzel haparot, next to the other cows, al sfat hayaor, on the bank of the Nile. Okay, so this is what Pharaoh is dreaming so far. He got 7 good-looking cows, and behind them 7 ugly, skinny-looking cows. Kind of like picturing, you can see their ribs through the skin. That's kind of picture of a cow. Verse 4, Vatochalna haparot ra'ot hamar'eh v'dakot habasar et sheva haparot yefot hamar'eh v'habriot vayikatz paro. And these 7 ugly, skinny cows ate or swallowed the healthy-looking cows, and Pharaoh woke up. Okay, vayikatz. I think it's more, he suddenly awoke. So it was like a dramatic thing, like, wow, this is bizarre. These 7 ugly cows, skinny cows, swallowing those other cows, and it just somehow abruptly woke Pharaoh from his dream. But then, vayishan, he went back to sleep. Vayachalom shenit, and he dreamed again. Vehine sheva shibolim. There are 7 ears of corn. Olot bakane achad, coming out of one stalk. Briot v'tovot, good-looking ears of corn. Okay, again, if you're going to a corn auction or you're going to the market, these would be good-looking stalks or ears of corn. Vehine sheva shibolim dakot ushtufot kadim somchot acharehen. And here behind them are these ugly-looking ears of corn sprouting up behind them. And what happens? Vativlana hashibolim hadakot et sheva hashibolim habriot v'hamleot vayikatz paro v'hine chalom. And then so these thin, ugly-looking ears of corn swallow up the good-looking ears of corn, and Pharaoh again wakes up suddenly and understands that it was a dream. Okay, so 2 dreams, ugly swallowing good-looking, skinny swallowing healthy, and it really, really bothers Pharaoh. Vayehi vaboker, and in the morning, vatipaem rucho, his spirit was agitated. Vayishlach, right? He's still thinking about these dreams. I'm the kind of person, I never remember my dreams. And Lenore, my wife, remembers her dreams every single morning. I rarely remember a dream. And if I remember a dream, then I know it's pretty significant. And so I do remember that I remembered a dream last week, but I have no memory. Usually in the morning, I have no idea what I've dreamt about the night before. Okay, but here Pharaoh is agitated by these dreams. They're so remarkable that it caused him to be agitated. And so what does he do? Vayishlach vayikra et kol chartumei Mitzrayim. He sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt. V'et kol chachameha, and all its wise men. Vayasaper paro lahem, and Pharaoh told them et chalomo, his dream, ve'ein poter otam lefaro, and not one of them could figure out how to interpret it or solve it to Pharaoh. Okay, so once Joseph, we all know these dreams and we know how they are interpreted, and sometimes the once we know the answer, we go, Of course, that makes total sense. How could we not see that before? Right? So that Joseph, you can't understand how all the wise men of Egypt could not figure out what Pharaoh's dreams are talking about. And Joseph figures it out, and all the wise men say, yeah, absolutely. How could we have missed that? So you wonder how wise these wise men of Egypt are. And now we're going to meet these Chartumim, these magicians again in the book of Exodus, right? So that right, yes, yes, 7 years of grain or corn my father is putting in directly to me. Whether it's corn or grain, it does what I'm not sure. Yes, I said corn, but it does say grain here in the English translation. Doesn't really matter what it is. It's something growing up, and these sheaves of grain are swallowing up other sheaves of grain. And so these Egyptian magicians who we'll meet in the book of Exodus are presented as skilled, but as kind of as what they're kind of as pawns in the whole story, right? So these Egyptian magicians are set up in Egyptian society to be these great, wondrous people who perform their stunts as part of Egyptian religion. But for the Torah, they're seen as fools because they can't do anything that Moses can do, and certainly can't do anything here in this story that Joseph can do, right? So from the Torah's perspective, these Egyptian magicians are nothing. That really what causes us to be able to figure things out in the way the world works, and what the only force that is able to be supernatural is God. Okay, so that's the point of the Torah and the point of these Egyptian magicians to be put in their place. Okay, so none of them, verse 8, none of them can figure out Pharaoh's dreams. All these great people in Egypt who are revered and respected, how could they not figure out the dreams? So now what happens? Verse 9, Vayidaber Sar Hamashkim, the cupbearer spoke, et Paro lemor, to Pharaoh, saying, et chata'ai ani maskir hayom. My sins I remember today. Okay, so in other words, he just remembered, oh yeah, someone with a dream, Pharaoh with a dream. I had a dream, and there was an interpreter in jail. Oh my goodness, how could I forget to remember to remember Joseph to the officials to try to get him out. Et chata'ai ani maskir hayom. My sins I remember today. He tells Pharaoh, I sincerely apologize for not bringing this up sooner. You could have had a dream interpreter in your court much sooner. Paro katsaf al avadav vayitenoti b'mishmar. Once Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me in jail, Beit Sar hatabachim, in the house of the chief steward, oti ve'et sar ha'ofim, me and the chief baker. Okay, so just reminding you, Pharaoh, that you threw me and the chief baker in jail once because of your anger. V'nachalma chalom balayla achad, and we dreamt a dream one night, ani vahu, me and him, ish kefitron chalomo chalamnu. we had dreams, each of us a dream with a meaning of its own. We dreamt. V'sham itanu na'ar ivri, and there with us was a Hebrew lad, Eved Lasar Hatabachim, the servant of the chief steward, Vanasaper lo, and we told him our dreams, Vayiftar lanu et chalamotenu, and he interpreted or solved our dreams. Ish kachalamo patar, each one of us according to its interpretation. Vayehi ka'asher patar lanu ken haya, and as he interpreted the dream, so it came to be. Oti heshiv al kani, I was restored to my post. Va'oto tala, and him, the other one, was hanged. Vayishlach paro, 252 verse 14. Vayishlach paro, vayikra Yosef. So Pharaoh sent and called for Joseph. Vayeritzuhu min habor. They rushed him from the pit. Says here the dungeon. They rushed him from the pit. Vayegalach. He was shaved. Vayechalef simlotav. His garments were changed. Vayavo el paro, and he was brought to Pharaoh. Okay, so a couple things here about dreams. So we know that Joseph had a dream that was in the beginning of the portion Vayeshev. So we're going to look at those dreams in a moment. And there were these dreams that the cupbearer is telling Pharaoh about that we read in last week's portion also. So there are 3 instances of dreams within 2 Torah portions. And there's only one other dream in the entire book of Genesis, and that's Jacob's dream of the ladder with the angels going up and down. Other dreams, as far as I remember, there are no other dreams in the entire Torah. And if, in fact, we want to look at the rest of the Bible, there are visions that the prophets have, but they are not called dreams. King Solomon had a dream in which he asks to be the wisest of all men in the world. Okay, so we know King Solomon has dreams, but other people with dreams, again, Nebuchadnezzar or Darius in the book of Daniel has a dream. So dreams are few and far between in the Bible. In rabbinic literature, dreams take on a very important spiritual dimension. In fact, in the tractate Brachot, which is the first tractate in the entire Mishnah, and therefore in the Talmud, right, in the collection of Jewish law known as the Mishnah, edited 1800 years ago, the very first section is Brachot, dealing with blessings and other Jewish prayers. And in the Talmud, there's extensive material about this. There's a whole section dealing with dreams. And in the Talmud especially, it tells us, if you dream about this animal, this is what it means. This is what it means. So these are the animals and what they mean if you dream about them. And this is what it means if you dream what these animals are doing. Okay, so there's an extensive list there of animals and what they're doing and what it means. And then there's dreams, other things. If you dream about eating a meal or things like that, a whole variety of dreams are listed, what you could possibly be dreaming and what it therefore means according to Jewish rabbinic interpretation. So for the rabbis, dreams are an opportunity to have a message from God to us. It's dreams take on religious meaning, and that's how the rabbis understand it. So my point in bringing this all up is, if dreams are so important, we would imagine then that there should be more dreams listed in the Torah and in the Bible, and they're not. So it's just fascinating how this transition takes place of dreams being few and far between in the Bible to dreams taking on an important part of Jewish spiritual dimension. How that happens, I'm not sure. And how that leads to Sigmund Freud and his psychotherapy and his dream interpretations. And Sigmund Freud was brought up as a good Jew, but raised to be the father of psychotherapy, as we all know. So dreams take on an important impact there too. So dreams in all cultures take on important meaning, and they have a great significance. Okay, so that again, it's just fascinating to me that if dreams in rabbinic literature, in Judaism per se, are so important, why aren't dreams important in the Torah and in the Bible? Just something to think about. But let's take a look at the beginning of the portion Vayeshev and look at Joseph's dreams there and see how they might be similar to these dreams that Pharaoh has. So if we turn back, just keep our finger here on 252, but let's turn back to page 227, which in whatever edition Chumash, you're looking at chapter 37, verse 5. Chapter 37 of Genesis, verse 5, that near the beginning of the portion Vayeshev. Okay, so 227 in the Eitz Chaim. So we know that Joseph's brothers hate him, and because he was given this coat of many colors, it's translated here an ornamented tunic. So clearly he was Jacob's favorite, and his brothers hate him. So verse 5, Vayachalom Yosef Chalom. Joseph dreamt a dream, Vayaged le'echav, and he told it to his brothers, Vayosifu od sno oto, and they hated him even more. What was this dream? Vayomer alehem, shim'una. He said to them, listen up, hachalom hazeh asher chalamti, about this dream that I dreamt. So we wonder at Joseph's naivete. We wonder at Joseph, I think this is common in families with lots of kids. The little kids always get picked on by their older brothers and sisters. And for some reason, they take all the bullying and all the beating up, and it's like they come back for more. Like the kids never learn their lessons, and they keep on aggravating their older siblings so that they keep getting beaten up. And it's just something that's just consistent throughout the generations in every single family. Just little kids always are seeking the attention of the older sibling, even if it means that they're going to get beat up. They're going to keep on doing it. Younger siblings look for the attention from the older sibling. So Joseph knows he's hated, right? The narrator tells us that he's hated. So it's clear that Joseph knows that he's hated. And he's still going to stick it to his brothers, and come what may, he's just going to tell them this dream because he's looking for attention. And what's the dream? Vehine anachnu me'almim alumim betoch hasadeh. Here we are binding sheaves in the field. Vehine kama alumati, and here my sheaf is getting up. v'gam nitzava, and standing up straight, vehine tesubena alumotechem, and your sheaves are reclining, or bowing low, right? Tesubena, from like one of the four questions in the Haggadah. Bein yoshvinu vein mesubin halayla hazeh kulanu mesubin. Well, on this night we're all reclining. Other nights we're sitting or reclining, right? So we're lying down. So the other, your sheaves are lying down. Mine has gotten up and is standing straight. Vatishtachavena la'alumati, and your sheaves are bowing down to my sheaf. And his brothers rightly said, now it doesn't take a dream interpreter, right? They're not asking, oh, let's go find a dream interpreter to figure out what this means. They figured it out right away. Vayomru lo echav, his brothers say to him, Hamaloch timloch aleinu, are you going to rule over us? Mashol timshol banu, you're going to be in control over us. Vayosifu od snooto, and they additionally hated him. Al chalomotav ve'al dvarav, for his dreams and for his words. Okay, and one more dream on top of that. Vayachalom od chalom acher, he dreamt one more dream. Vayasaperoto le'achav, and he told it to his brothers. Vayom, and he said, Hine chalamti chalom od, here I've dreamt another dream. Vehine hashemesh v'hayareach, and here the sun and the moon, and ve'achad asar kochavim mishtachavim li, and 11 stars are bowing down to me. Okay, so again, doesn't need a dream interpreter here. The sun and the moon and the star and 11 stars in the sky are bowing down to me. Okay, so these are Joseph's dreams. His sheaves, his brother's sheaves are bowing down to him. The sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing down to him. Here is two of Pharaoh's dreams. So Joseph has two dreams which say the exact same thing, right? Sheaves bowing down to one sheaf, stars bowing down to him. Two dreams, same message. Joseph is going to be bowed down to. Two dreams that Pharaoh has: skinny eating fat. Skinny cows eating good-looking cows, skinny grain swallowing up good-looking fat grain. Okay? And then you have the dreams in jail of three baskets, right, on top of the baker's head, and the birds eating from that. And then you have the 3 baskets of grapes, and the cupbearer having that dream. Okay, so these are the dreams that we have. Okay, so Joseph's dream is of him being bowed down, people bowing down to him, his brothers bowing down to him. Pharaoh's dreams are of the skinny ones devouring the fatter ones. So in Joseph's dream, the better one, the one sheaf, is better than the other sheaves, and that is the one that wins the day. In Pharaoh's dream, it's the skinny that wins the day and devours the more powerful, the better looking, the healthier. Okay, so in Joseph, the healthier wins. In Pharaoh, the skinnier wins out. So it's just interesting. And it's the Devar Torah that I shared on Facebook today from Rabbi David Wolpe from Los Angeles. He writes a Devar Torah for the Jerusalem Post every week, and he posts it on Facebook. He talks about all these opposites that are in the whole Joseph story, and how at one point the better is ascendant, and at the other point the lesser is ascendant. There's a lot of opposites that happen throughout the story. Joseph, on the one hand, is good. He's the favorite child. Then he's thrown into a pit. Then he becomes the chief servant of the household of Potiphar, and then he's thrown into jail. And now he's going to be second in command in all of Egypt. So it's the roller coaster ride of Joseph, and it's also other things that happen to the people of Egypt, to the people in Jacob's family as well. Ups and downs that are encountered in the story. So I want to skip ahead, and we know, of course, that Joseph, besides interpreting, gives a plan saying that there will be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Better store up the food in the 7 years of plenty, so that there'll be food in those 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh and all his advisors say, sounds like a good idea, and you're going to be second in command. So now, I just want to look at that. Let's turn ahead to 254, beginning with verse 39. This is the third Aliyah. So it's chapter 41, verse 39, in whatever edition of Chumash you are. But again, look for where the third Aliyah begins. That's where we are. Vayomer Paro el Yosef, Pharaoh said to Joseph, Acharei hodia Elohim otcha et kol zot, ein navon vechacham kamocha. And it's fascinating that throughout this story, God is recognized as by God's name by Pharaoh and other Egyptians, right? So Pharaoh says to Joseph, after God told you all of this, there is none wiser, and there is none so discerning and wise as you. Okay, so here Pharaoh is acknowledging God and saying it's clear God has told you this, and it's clear then there's no one wiser or more discerning than you. It's just something to think about from the narrator's perspective. It seems clear to me that Pharaoh would never acknowledge that the Hebrew God as being so mighty and ascendant in the universe, because in Pharaoh's universe, Pharaoh is the number one God, ascendant over all other Egyptian gods. So there's no way that Pharaoh would acknowledge that there is another God. But of course, from the Torah's perspective, it seems like Pharaoh is acknowledging that. Ata tihiyeh al beiti, Pharaoh goes on, you will be in charge of my house. Ve'al picha yishak ami, and by your word, my people will be directed. Rak hakisei egdal mimeka, only the throne would be greater than you, right? That's something you can't achieve, but everything else you will be in charge of. Vayomer Paro el Yosef, Pharaoh says to Joseph, Re'en atati otcha al kol eretz Mitzrayim, behold, I've put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Vayasar Paro et tabato, Pharaoh took off his ring, me'al yado, from his hand, vayitenota al yad Yosef, and he put it on Joseph's hand, vayobeshoto bigdei shesh, and he dressed him in robes of fine linen, vayasem revid hazahav al tzavaro, and he put a gold chain on his neck, or really literally the gold chain on his neck. So if we picture movies about ancient Egypt, one of the designs is this very wide necklace that the pharaoh and other Egyptian officials wear. And I think that this is a common thing because they probably found it on noblemen in graves from ancient Egypt. So the Ravid Hazahav, the golden necklace, is possibly this wide necklace that only noblemen and officials wear. And so not only that, he gets the ring and this gold necklace. Vayarkevoto b'mirkevet hamishneh, and he had him ride in the chariot of his second in command, Asher Lo, for him. Vayikru lefanav, and they called before him Avrech, which might mean that here the commentary says, what is Avrech? Because it's not translated. An exclamation found nowhere else in the Bible. In Akkadian, which is an ancient Semitic language pre-Hebrew, Abaraku is the term for a steward of the temple and the chief steward of a private or royal household. Okay, so maybe it's that, but why would Pharaoh use an Akkadian word? He should be using an Egyptian word. Okay, maybe this is the Hebrew translation of the Egyptian word that was used, because in rabbinic literature, Avrech is related to Baruch or Berech, which is the knee. So it's interesting that the word bracha, blessing, comes from the same word meaning knee, because when we recite a blessing, sometimes we are bending the knee and bowing down while we recite the blessing. So the bending of the knee and the recitation of the blessing is a recognition of showing deference to the higher power, showing deference to God. So perhaps Avrech, the rabbis are saying, is bend the knee. So whenever Joseph appeared in public, they would say, Avrech, bend the knee, show respect to this man. Venatonoto, and he was given over all the land of Egypt. Okay, so I have to end a little bit early today. Any thoughts or comments about what we've been studying so far, about these dreams and about Joseph's rise to power here? Any thoughts or comments that you wanted to share today? So I just want to leave us again with this idea that the dreams and how important they are in rabbinic literature, but how infrequent they are in the entire Bible. And also this idea of this roller coaster ride that permeates the entire Joseph story of things that were low become high and things that are high become low, and how that also is brilliantly executed throughout this Joseph story. So I wish everybody a continued happy Hanukkah. This evening we have Minyan at 7:30. We'll light the candles before Minyan starts, and I'll have a fun Hanukkah video to share. Remember that tomorrow evening we have the outdoor Hanukkah lighting at 5:30, right outside our Sharei Tefillah building, and so hopefully we can. But I'll be zooming. We'll be zooming that as well if people don't want to come out at night for that. So happy Hanukkah, everybody!
Happy Hanukkah!
And have a good rest of the day.
Happy Hanukkah. Thank you.
Jonah.
Take care.
No, well.